goodness. Welcome back, guys. Hopefully you all are doing just perfectly fine on this here. I don't know what day you're watching this, but hopefully everything's going well. I've got a couple changes that are going on in my build in and of itself. And I realized I hadn't really made a good episode to kind of tide things over. So what are we going to do? We're going to take a look around our mega build yet again, because I have been working tirelessly at it. Now we've got all our mass of soldiers sitting around, and let's just take a look at this from the front. And oh goodness, we're not flying far enough. No, up here. Well, ow. Okay. All right, fair enough. Oh yes. Oh, it is ginormous, and I am loving how it is turning out. Now, a lot of people have been like, well, why aren't you making videos about each of your decisions? Well, because each of these decisions takes me about 2 hours to execute. So if we come up here, the most recent decisions that I have to make are going to be, oh god, my rockets don't even reach the top of this thing anymore. Like, they don't. Okay, so my most recent decisions are going to be putting arches in here. Again, we can make this its own lighting, so we can just put arches in, probably about 4 of them. 4 of them, those are going to be pretty big arches. You should be able to see them from down there. I mean, maybe if you're flying around. But for the most part, that's what that's going to be. We also have to put designs on here, so I'm thinking just a regular arch, and then maybe doing a double arch. Or maybe, you know what, maybe we switch it around. Maybe we'll do a double arch down here, and we'll do a big arch up there. I don't know quite what I'm going to do with those yet, but we definitely want to keep the arches rolling, especially because we have the points on top. So that is, that's kind of where we want to be. If we're doing double arches, we want it to be a straight across. So right here, we'll do double arches, and it'll be fairly straightforward. And I think that's where this is going to be. Oh, good lord. Okay, whoo, sorry about that. Interruptions. So, plan is, oh yeah, we gotta finish this up, because I'm gonna have this 2-tiered as at this part. This part's gonna be 2-tiered, and that's because I don't have enough space to expand it this way without pretty much running over that tower, which is going to be kind of the issue. So instead of that, so that's kind of the decisions we're making. There are a couple other problems. I don't know why my mouse keeps doing that. What? I need to get my new mouse out, because I bought a new one. I just haven't hooked it up yet, because I've been scared, because changing sensitivities is always such a pain. Anyway, we have another issue, which is going to be coming up relatively soon down here, because the scale of the building got bigger, and that's not necessarily a good thing, which is why we're 2-tiering the roof, so that kind of separates half of the problem. But the other half of the problem is going to be right here, where this edge, I was thinking that this was going to come along and hit a flat side, and that is no longer the case. It is not hitting a flat side, it is hitting part of the curved side, or part of the diagonal side. So we're going to have to come in here, we're going to have to remove some stuff, and we're probably going to remove the edges here so that we have some room to play with. And that can make it so we have, you know, like if we keep the arch, if we keep an arch underneath here, and we keep an arch underneath here, this arch is going to go further. What the heck was that? That is a noise. Okay. Looks like they took down the dragon. So here's the go-to for this, and we're just going to so we're going to take this down, we're going to replace this with a decorative block, and then we're going to come up with some sort of arch. And then we'll put the arch underneath here and underneath here, and if we need to, we could make a more we could make the same curve but lower, and that would bring the center of the bridge again to the center. So we want the center, but it also meets up with this corner, which is what we want to support in the first place. So it will look fine. There is going to be some playing with numbers. Again, we're going to have to play with some distances and then probably come up with a curve to connect this with this. But that being said, is totally feasible. We can do that. Not really an issue. The other thing is do we want to have, how else do we want to have this kind of over, covered? I'm not quite sure what I want to do with that yet, so we're not going to worry about it. But yeah, that's going to be there. We're keeping this build right here because well, this is just going to be open, so we're going to be able to fly out of here with an elytra, fly in here with an elytra, and that does mean we're going to need, if we do skylighting, which is totally a thing I want to do, we'll have a huge chandelier or something. We're going to have that further down that way. So if we light it up, if we light the back end up with it, we won't light the front end up with it, just so we keep this open. So that's kind of the thought process there. And other decisions that we have to make real soon are going to be the other support pillars. So I expanded this, so I'm going to need to work on the floor again. I'm also going to need to cut back more of this mountain, which is just kind of annoying in all honesty, but not the end of the world. So yeah, I'm kind of taking two separate buildings and mashing them together, which is why we're having some growing pains. I also made the mistake of starting this too far back. I didn't do any of the math involved to really place this right, which means I placed this wrong because I started off with this building. So that's kind of where we're grinding to a halt, but that's not going to stop us because we have some pretty decent solutions to most of these. So that's kind of where we're at. Now, a lot of people have been asking me, how do you start a build like this? Like, what is your process for making a building this stupid? And honestly, I don't have a real good answer to that. Stupid is as stupid does, I guess. No, it's the thing that I'm going with is I'll probably just make a video on how to take on these big projects. God, that is loud. Why does it do that for everybody? So anyway, now that that's over, because good Lord, does that need to be over? There we go. We're just putting all these up. I want to make a video kind of explaining how to take some of these projects on, and for the most part, it's relatively simple. It's just getting the supplies, getting your supply chains going, and then using that to kind of, further yourself along. But in terms of how to figure out your dimensions and figure out those kind of things, we kind of have to look in some other different places. So, well, where am I? Oh, that's not good. I did something dumb, didn't I? Probably. I probably did something really dumb. I did do something. No, I didn't. I can just put a block here. There we go. Boop, 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 boop. And we're down here. There we go. So this is just where we're at. I know it doesn't seem like a whole lot, but we finally have our regular dimensions down. But what I could do is we could look at some other builds and see how we would make them gigantic, or not. Like, there's another way to go about this. That's not just make it big, because I mean, don't get me wrong, making it big means you can put more detail in, you've got more space, you can put farms in, you can do whatever you want to with a big enough build. But really, what defines it is the ratio. So you have to figure out how to make a ratio work in order to give off the feeling of the building itself. Like if we come over here, ba-doop. So the first thing I did was we found, good lord, that is the loudest noise in, seriously, that noise is so loud. So we have that doorway, and that doorway was the focus, because we kind of had an idea on how big the doorway needed to be. So if we had the dimensions for this doorway in blocks, then we had the dimensions for everything else relative to that doorway. So instead of having this doorway in and of itself, I decided that, hey, if the doorway is 12 blocks, then that means if I compare that to the surroundings, that means that about 12 blocks on top of that is where where these angles should be coming from. So we double that, all of a sudden, then we have the door, we have the start of the doorway, and then we build it out. And then it's like, okay, so now what? The pillars around the bottom of it, for our armor stands and stuff, that is about as wide. But we have to keep in mind that it's also at an angle. So if we keep this and just put it at an angle, then all of a sudden, boom, everything fits, and we now have everything doubled to what it needs to be. So essentially, we're just comparing what we already have to what we need next. And that could be a problem for people. Now, the reason why I say it could be a problem for people is because... gotta kill him. The reason why I say it could be a problem for people is because there's just so much going on. For example... sounds like there's a zombie there. Also, skeleton. Oh, headshot! I'm the best. Anyway, so when we get down to it, we want to plan it out beforehand, which is why a lot of people end up making this ground framework first. The base layer. The foundation. There we go. So you start off with a foundation, and you kind of go from there. In order to find the foundation, you do the math in order to figure out where things will land. Now, that's not exactly the best, just because it doesn't lend itself, or I should say that is the best because it does lend itself to you just picking up and moving the foundations to places where they absolutely need to be, especially later when you're actually building the thing to kind of go along. Again, we see that problem with these, where these should technically be back about 3 blocks. Yes, 3 blocks is my solution, is just move this backwards 3 blocks. Now, obviously, that would take a ton of time, and I'm not doing that, and which is why I'm modifying the design a little bit in order for some of that to be much more, in order for these arms to be much more visible by the sides, and I think it's going to look fantastic. I do think that it's going to look really, really good with these extra bits of accent coming around, which is also why I built an accent line in the foundation, or in this to begin with, which is that line right there. So you can see it's not quite the same. It's just a little bit off, and that's partially because I made a mistake, but it also looks really, really good because I use that as a feature. Like that's where this level is going to be at, where we're going to build, right? Like that's my flooring level. So obviously, if there's a flooring level there, there's going to be extra support at that point. So we're just going to dip it inwards a little bit and call it a day. Because again, once you're on the inside, you'll see that we're going to put actual supports in, and it's going to look that much better. So that's kind of where we're at in terms of this build. But I kind of want to take this and take it into a creative world and show you how to really analyze these things for yourself and get a feeling of how to do these things on your own without needing a tutorial, because like you don't need tutorials at all for how to build these things, because it's just at a certain point it's just intuitive, right? So again, once you're looking at ratios, everything kind of falls into place. Once you look at once you figure out like where your main building is, you can kind of figure out where everything is going to be in relation to that. Now, again, there will be mistakes, but figuring out how to move past those is kind of what is going to like make or break you. So what I should do is I'll put some windows in the sides there. I'll make them really tall, really thin, probably only one block, and then of course those arches should end up somewhere along that line or something like that, I'm guessing. But actually, what if we just took it off the side and just arced it down? So that would be the top of the arc, and then we just arc it that way. That would make so much more sense because you're trying to take the forces and pull them away from the center of the building. That would look really good. But maybe I will make a follow-up video if people want. I'll take a not so detailed mega build and kind of lay down the framework, how I figure out the framework, and then kind of leave you guys to it, because again, the more simple the build, the easier it is to get those fundamental steps in. As long as you follow the fundamentals, then everything's just going to fall into place. It's going to be really, really simple, really straightforward, where all you got to do is just follow the routine, and then all of a sudden, boom, your building's going to be done. I shouldn't say boom, it's going to be done, but at a certain point, you literally cannot mess it up. And I'm probably going to make another video of me probably going around and trying to fill in the rest of the sides with the pillars I want, because I want the buttresses into pillars, and making those pillars is going to be kind of annoying, but that'll also give you another sneak peek into how this crazy mega build was actually thrown together. So that's my plan. Hopefully you guys don't mind that not a whole lot actually got done in this video, and it was more just me spewing nonsense. But if there are things you want to see done in Minecraft or in gaming in general, I did just get some new games and stuff, so good lord, this server's so loud now. But if these things do pop up and you guys are looking for a particular type of content, for example, redstoning or something, just let me know. I would love to get you guys set up correctly. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, take it easy.